Close your eyes, it's 1931. A tall tower rises in New York, Chaplin's tramp walks again, and faint jazz notes drift through quiet nights. Welcome, dear dreamer. I'm Toro, and tonight, we travel back to the gentle, intricate world of 1931. Imagine yourself lying beneath soft covers, the day behind you, while we step together into a year that balanced hardship and wonder, resilience and creativity. In 1931, the world was still learning how to move forward after the sudden chill of the Great Depression. Yet, even in times of struggle, people found reasons to smile, to hope, and to build. A record-breaking skyscraper touched the clouds above Manhattan. In darkened theaters, Charlie Chaplin brought audiences laughter with his tender tramp, reminding them of the simple strength of kindness. And across oceans, the hum of progress and the quiet pulse of everyday life carried on, like the steady rhythm of a lullaby. As we drift together through the landscapes of 1931, we'll touch upon great events and small details, inventions and melodies, stories of those born and those who left, before closing with a reflection on how this year rested its head upon the pillow of history. So, let's begin our journey, softly, slowly, gently, into the world of 1931. World events. The year 1931 unfolded like a long, bittersweet symphony. Around the world, moments of struggle and transformation were taking shape, yet they passed softly, like notes on the wind. In New York City, May brought the opening of the Empire State Building, a tower of steel and stone rising higher than anything before it. At 1,454 feet tall, it seemed to pierce the clouds themselves. For many who walked beneath its shadow, the skyscraper stood as a beacon of human determination, proof that even in hard times, dreams could climb toward the sky. Across the Atlantic, Spain entered a new chapter. After centuries of monarchy, King Alfonso XIII went into exile, and the Second Spanish Republic was proclaimed. Streets filled with both celebration and uncertainty, as people wondered what the future would hold. It was a turning of pages, a new beginning, gently inked in the story of Europe. Meanwhile, across Asia, Japan was changing too. In September, its army moved into Manchuria, setting in motion events that would ripple far beyond the moment. To ordinary people, the headlines felt distant, yet their effects would echo quietly into the future. Elsewhere, natural forces reminded humanity of their power. In China, the Yangtze River flooded once more, continuing devastation from the prior year. Towns and fields lay submerged, and countless families endured loss. Yet alongside sorrow, neighbors extended hands, showing how kindness can float even upon waters of difficulty. Back in America, the Depression deepened. Banks closed, jobs vanished, and breadlines stretched along city streets. Yet within this hardship, communities built networks of sharing. Churches served meals, neighbors exchanged goods, and small joys, a laugh, a song, a story, became the most valuable currency. 1931 was not an easy year, but it was one of perseverance. Its world events were not only headlines, but quiet lessons, that towers can rise even when pockets are empty, that nations can turn a page with both hope and fear, and that rivers may rise, but so too can the human spirit. One story that shaped 1931. Among the many stories of 1931, one stands tall above the rest, literally. The story of the Empire State Building became the defining image of the year, a monument of ambition in the midst of difficulty. Picture it, the Great Depression has tightened its grip. Unemployment is high, and yet, on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, a steel giant steadily climbs into the clouds. Day by day, riveters, ironworkers, and laborers, many of them immigrants, balance on thin beams with the city sprawling far below. They wear no safety harnesses, only courage and skill as they rivet metal to metal, skyward. On May 1, 1931, the doors opened. Crowds gathered, marveling at the 102 stories, the gleaming Art Deco design, the sheer audacity of it all. For many, it felt like more than a building, it was a promise. A reminder that even in lean times, humanity could dream boldly. Inside, offices awaited tenants, though few companies could afford them at first. The building was sometimes nicknamed the Empty State Building. Yet, despite its quiet hallways, its presence on the skyline offered inspiration. At night, light shimmered from its crown, like a lantern against the uncertainty of the times. For families walking along the streets below, looking up at this marvel was enough to kindle imagination. Children pointed, eyes wide. Workers on their way home felt a small swell of pride. The Empire State was not just a skyscraper, it was a lullaby of steel and stone, singing softly of human perseverance. And so, when history whispers about 1931, this is the story most remembered, a tower rising higher than hardship, a symbol that still touches the clouds today. Daily life around the world. Life in 1931 carried both simplicity and subtle change. In city apartments, families gathered around radios, listening to nightly programs. Comedy sketches, news bulletins, and the latest jazz tunes filled rooms with warmth. For those who couldn't afford a radio, neighbors sometimes left windows open, letting music drift down alleyways. Clothing reflected both tradition and frugality. Men often wore suits, even in tough times, though jackets and hats grew shabbier with wear. Women shortened hemlines just a little, but many mended dresses rather than buying new. Children patched their knees with care. Yet Sunday best was still polished, as church and community events brought dignity to everyday life. At the dinner table, meals were simple, stew stretched with beans, bread thickly sliced, canned vegetables brought out for special occasions. In rural areas, families grew their own produce, trading extras with neighbors. Despite hardship, shared meals often became the heart of connection. Transportation was a mix of old and new. In bustling cities, streetcars rattled, taxis honked, and automobiles, though fewer were sold, still rolled through streets. In the countryside, horses remained reliable companions. Bicycles carried workers to factories, and trains connected cities with their rhythmic lull. Children played marbles, jacks, and hopscotch in dusty streets. Homemade toys filled in where store-bought ones were absent. Card games and board games like Monopoly, soon to be released, would become evening pastimes. In Europe, cafes hummed with quiet conversation, smoke curling into the air as poets and thinkers debated gently. In Asia, markets brimmed with spices, fabrics, and laughter, just as they had for centuries. Across continents, daily life was a blend of resilience and small joys. Evenings were often the most magical. Lanterns or electric lamps cast warm glows, radios whispered, and newspapers rustled. Families sat together, sharing stories. And as children drifted to sleep, the world outside turned, sometimes difficult, sometimes beautiful, always moving forward. Science, inventions, and technology. Even in hard times, curiosity never ceased. In 1931, electric refrigerators slowly found their way into middle-class homes, replacing the daily delivery of ice blocks. Though still a luxury, they symbolized modern comfort. Medicine advanced as researchers explored new treatments for diseases like tuberculosis. Experiments with vitamins and nutrition hinted at better health ahead. In the skies, airships still floated gracefully. The German Graf Zeppelin completed impressive journeys, its silver frame gleaming as it crossed oceans. Though airplanes were becoming more common, the Zeppelin still carried a sense of romance. In laboratories, scientists studied the atom, unaware of how profoundly their work would shape the decades ahead. In communications, radio technology improved, allowing broadcasts to reach more homes than ever. The spirit of invention whispered softly through 1931, a promise that even in lean years, human curiosity remained bright. Culture and the arts. In theaters, Charlie Chaplin returned with City Lights, a silent film in an era of talkies, proving that tenderness and laughter needed no words. Audiences wept and laughed, cherishing his tramp character once more. Music swirled through dance halls and living rooms. Jazz remained strong, carried by Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and others. Bing Crosby's smooth voice charmed listeners, while radio shows offered nightly serenades. Literature, too, bloomed. Pearl S. Buck published The Good Earth, bringing the life of rural China to Western readers. Virginia Woolf continued to weave modernist reflections. Books, inexpensive and portable, became companions in difficult times. In sports, baseball still filled American afternoons. Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig swung their bats, giving fans something to cheer for. In Europe, soccer matches drew lively crowds, chanting and cheering in stadiums. Art continued to push boundaries, with painters experimenting in surrealism and abstraction, even as traditional landscapes still comforted many. Culture in 1931 was not extravagant, but it was deeply human: laughter, song, stories, and games that carried hearts gently forward. Media and headlines. News in 1931 arrived through newspapers, radios, and cinema reels. Headlines spoke of economic hardship, political change, and natural disasters. A newspaper might read: Empire State Building opens its doors. Spain declares Second Republic. Japan moves into Manchuria. Yangtze floods bring despair. But alongside serious headlines, lighter notes appeared. New York Dog Show crowns champion. Baseball season brings hope to fans. New recipes help stretch the family dollar. Prices whispered their own story: a loaf of bread cost about 8 cents, a gallon of gasoline around 10. Movie tickets were a dime, offering escape for many. Reading the paper by lamplight, or hearing headlines on the radio, was both an escape and a grounding reminder that the world was vast, and each family a small part of it. People born and people died this year. In 1931, the circle of life continued, quietly weaving arrivals and farewells. Among those born, James Dean, who would later embody youthful rebellion on screen. Leonard Nimoy, who would bring Spock's wisdom to generations. Desmond Tutu, who would speak of justice and peace. Among those who left, Thomas Edison, the great inventor whose light bulb had banished the dark. F. W. Murnau, filmmaker of Nosferatu. Each birth, each passing, added to the quiet tapestry of history. As 1931 drew to a close, the world felt weary, yet determined. The depression still pressed heavily, yet small sparks of hope glimmered. Towers had risen, stories had been told, and laughter had echoed in theaters. For many, the year ended simply, with a meal shared, a song hummed, a prayer whispered. Across time zones, from New York to Madrid, Shanghai to Berlin, people laid their heads down, uncertain of what the next year might bring, yet trusting in the gentle passage of time. 1931 was a year of endurance. A year of building, both literally and figuratively. A year when humanity, though tested, continued to dream. And so, dear dreamer, our journey through 1931 comes to rest. Thank you for wandering softly with me through towers and floods, laughter and song, everyday meals and starry skies. If you found peace in this gentle drift through history, I invite you to like this video, to subscribe, and to return again when the next chapter of time opens before us. Together, we'll keep tracing the lullabies of history, year by year, story by story. For now, close your eyes. Let go of today's worries. And drift into sleep, knowing that history itself is a lullaby, always whispering softly in the background of our dreams.